Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. It's Jen from You So Much, and I'm here to drink wine and chat with y'all. So I hope that you join me. Please, if you happen to be on the chat box, say hello, tell me you're here. Let's drink, let's be merry, let's have a great Wednesday night. So here in Portland, it's been snowing, which is so crazy because like literally like a week and a half ago, it was 65 degrees or something. It felt like springtime. And I kept saying to people like, yeah, but you know, it's only February. And so it could totally start snowing. and lo and behold, it started snowing. And we got like 5 inches last night. It's been crazy. So, but in the middle of the day, it melted a little bit. So I was able to get out and get some wine, which is like key, right? You got to have some wine if you're going to have wine with Wednesday. So anyway, if you are happen to be live on the chat box, please say hello, say hi. I'd love to chat with you and get your take on my subject today, which is unexpected value, including unexpected gifts or unexpected goodies from people or unexpected value when you go to someone's YouTube channel or their blog or whatever. It's always fun to get extra goodies, surprises from people. And I want to talk a little about that. So, and what's so awesome is I found this wine that is made from this little tiny wine company at the base of the Alps in France. And what they do is they specialize in unexpected wines. So I'm so excited because it kind of fits so well with what I wanted to talk about today. So let's get to the wine first. So I went down to the local shop, the mom and pop shop, which is right down in Northeast Portland. It's so cute. I think I told the story not too long ago because my friend Sam was out and about on a December evening, happened to see in this wine place and just was like wandering in and gave me like texted me right away on the phone and was like, hey Jen, come down here, join me. And it was like one of those nights where like I had my sweats on, like we were making dinner, and my first instinct was to say, well, I'm just kind of hunkered in for the evening, but then I was like, you know what, I kind of feel like going down and getting some wine with my friend. And she said it's super close. It's this new little wine shop that's right down the street, basically. I mean, it's like 10 blocks away. Maybe a little more than that, not much, 12 blocks. And so I could easily walk down there, but I drove down there, and it is so dang cute. Like the mom and pop name makes it sound like it's like this grandma and grandpa. And it's owned by this couple that is probably my age. And they have like these really affordable hip wines that they are sourcing from all over the world. Hey, Lily Ma, I see you're here. Welcome, welcome. So glad to see you. That they're sourcing from all over, and they're all really affordable. And then the hubby, I think they're married, Dan is his name. He makes pottery, and it's like this really cool pottery, and they sell really neat artists stuff in there too. Like he sells his pottery, but there's a couple other like paper goods and stuff that are in there too, kind of crafty things, but it all looks really kind of, I don't even know how to quite describe it, like maybe this sort of Danish art. It's all very clean. It's really cool. And they also have sake and cider. And then they have these Friday night tastings, which are so good. So Lily, I know you just joined me, so in case you missed it, I'm talking about this really cool little wine shop that's not too far from me. It's called the Mom and Pop Shop. And today when I went in there, I met the female owner, which again, I think they're married, so I think it's the wife. And her name is Talina, and she was great. She had done a lot of traveling, and they both worked in restaurants prior. And so she had like all kinds of great info for me. And so I picked out a few wines, and the one I picked out for today is this cute little winery that has supposedly this unexpected deliciousness wine. And I looked it up, and it looks like they were originally a winery that made champagne. So they are in the Champagne region. And so the son of the original owner decided he wanted to try some unusual wines besides just champagne, because one of the things that he started noticing was that a lot of the wines that are made in the region are made from just like 12 grapes, like 12 varietals of grapes make up like 80% of the wine from this region. And so he was like, I'm going to do something new and different. But he also wanted to keep with integrity of, the kinds of grapes that are grown in that region. So he is growing this grape called the I think it's the mallow grape. I hope I'm saying that right. And what I love about it is when I went into the mom and pop shop, she was talking about how this particular region, a lot of the wines that they made there outside of Champagne were just drunk like from people there. Like they basically didn't import it anywhere, export it anywhere. I mean, they had it there, they drank it there, they made it, they drank it. It's kind of like, you know, when you make your batch cookies in your house and you just kind of eat it, right? And so they didn't, so a lot of the rest of the world weren't able to, you know, sample these amazing varietals outside of the most popular ones that were exported all over the world. So they just started doing this. And so from what I understand, this is one of the few wineries that actually exports from this region, and Oregon is one of the few places that has it. So this is what it looks like. The winery is called, oh gosh, I looked it up, the Domaine Allemand. And I'm probably not saying it right, but this is what it looks like. And I'm in my new studio, by the way. This is like in progress, but I've been cleaning the bookshelves and making it all look pretty. And I'm going to start doing my YouTube videos here, Lily. So I'm really excited about this. So you can tell like half of it's done and the other half still has to be decorated. But this is getting my new little studio, and I'm just still figuring out the lighting in here. There's actually a really great window like right here, but it's dark here now. So hopefully when I do my YouTube videos, it will be a little bit more natural light coming in as well. But anyway, let me see if I can get this so you can kind of see it better. I feel like it's such a bright light, you can barely see it. There we go. You can kind of see it better now. So anyway, I'm so excited to try this wine and tell you guys how delicious it is. So one of the things that was great about Talina is that she knew I really love Pinot Noir. I told her I loved it. And here in Oregon, we get the best Pinot Noirs. We really, really do. And I just like the way that they're made here in Oregon. And so she knew the kind of style of wine that I like, which is sort of like a brighter fruit, a lighter wine, and something that's tend to be a little bit more on the dry side. So a lot of other red wines that are really big and bold, sometimes they're not as dry. I like the juicy fruitiness, but I don't like it too heavy because I like the feeling of it just sort of dancing on my tongue. I'll put it dancing on my tongue because I'm a dancer, you know? So Lily, if you're still here, I'd love to know what you are drinking. If you like wine, I don't know if we've ever had this discussion, Lily, if you're a wine person, or I know you like coffee and tea. If I remember right, you had a challenge of not drinking coffee from Evan. And so I'm curious if you are a wine fan or if you imbibe in any particular beverage besides coffee. That would be good to know. Let's see. Oh, you're okay. Cool. You're still a few seconds behind. So you're just saying you see the bottle. So yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful color. It does look nice and light and yet still like a deeper color. Now she said it reminded her a little bit of Gamay, but it's different. And I personally am not a huge Gamay fan, but it just sounded like such an original wine that I just like, okay, I gotta give this a try. I just gotta try it. Ooh, I like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. It definitely is lighter, brighter. It's not quite as dry or as tanniny as I like, but it's good. It's really good. And I can see it being excellent with food and maybe just a little bit of airing too. And Lily is just saying she wished she had wine. I love it. I love it. Well, next time, Lily, when you join me, you should definitely make sure you grab a glass for yourself. But you're a beer person. Okay. Okay. See, I cannot have beer. So if you're a beer person, you would love Oregon, because we have like the most incredible beers here in Seattle. Like we have all these handcrafted beers and small breweries, and we're just known for having the most amazing beers. I cannot drink beer because I get a headache. I literally get a headache after just drinking like maybe a half beer. It's just too much for me. So, I love the taste, especially of the hoppiness, like the more hoppy they are, which actually is worse for me. It's kind of weird that I like it, but especially on a hot summer day, a beer with a lot of hop, I just love that sort of bitterness on my tongue. It's so good. It's so good, but the headache is not worth it for me. So I skip out on the beer. So anyway, I highly recommend this wine. It's so good. And Lily's saying she loves the smell of red wine. Yeah. It smells so good, right? The fruity smell, and just to let it, again, dance in your tongue. I just love that first sip when you kind of like aerate it on your tongue a little bit. It's so yummy. So I thought today would be kind of fun to talk about unexpected value. And the reason why I was thinking about talking about this is because I went to a recent, I guess you could call it class. It was like a little mini class on persuasion. And persuasion is one of those things that I totally geek out on, because as a copywriter, it's one of the things that I really love is to look at the different levers of persuasion and see how you can utilize them in copy. And if you've ever, in fact, I teach a similar course myself on the levers of persuasion. A lot of them were covered in the book by Robert Cialdini. I hope I'm saying his name right. I think he calls it something about influence. I wish I remember the name of the book, but he talks about those 6, 7 levers of persuasion. And so she was covering some of them, but she actually had a few others. And it's interesting because I also attended another class last week that talked about different levers of persuasion, and there was a few that were not the same as Robert's. I mean, there's probably some overlap depending on how you look at it. But anyway, one of the ones that she talked about was reciprocity, which is kind of an obvious one that a lot of us are familiar with, right? And the idea there is if you give somebody something, then they want to give you something back. So for example, it's one of the reasons why giving so much value online through like tips on a YouTube video, for example, can really help build a little bit of loyalty with your audience, because if they learn enough from you, they feel like they want to be able to, reciprocate that by buying your online course, right? And so that's just one example. But the other example is you could give a gift to somebody if you're on a sales call, or to a client, and the more you give to somebody, they kind of feel like they want to give you back something. And so I once watched this video of this gal who was talking about how she always brought cookies, homemade baked cookies, and I think she actually bought them, but they were like fresh baked cookies, to all of her clients at every meeting that she went to. And she was like, I think she was like a retail like clothing provider. And so she would always go and she'd bring cookies every single time. And so near the Christmas season one year, she got a phone call from somebody that she brought cookies to all the time. And he called her up and said, hey, listen, I have an extra $50,000 and I need to spend it by the end of the year. And I want to buy something that we can kind of, quickly get in the store and sell during the Christmas season. And can you get something for me, in my budget? And she was like, absolutely. And she's like, why can I just ask why you called me with this extra budget, since you obviously don't have anything specific really in mind? And he said, well, because you're always the one who brings me cookies. He actually just admitted it to her, like, you bring me cookies, right? And so one of the things that they talked about today was that the more unexpected it is, the more that is sort of this feeling of wanting to show your appreciation back to that person. So I thought this was really cool. And I'm curious, Lily, if you've ever done that too, if you've ever used reciprocity in some of your own marketing, if you've given maybe a free coaching session with somebody at first, or what you might be doing, you might have a freebie on your website, or if there's other forms of this, right? Because obviously you could actually use this in copywriting as well. Like, let's say, for example, that you're giving this gift to your audience, to be able to point that out in your sales page or in your website is really powerful. And that was one of the things that came up in our session earlier this week, was that when you draw attention to it, when you actually point out that you are giving this gift, because sometimes if you aren't pointing out, they're not going to notice. They're just going to think it's like, a fly on the wall. They don't necessarily notice it until you go, look, there's a fly over there on the wall, right? And so if you can kind of somehow bring attention to it with your copy or with your advertising messages, then it can help, obviously, increase your results. So one of the examples they used, which I thought was really cool, was at a restaurant. So this is like a really obvious one, right? So at a restaurant, people don't think about this, but when people put a mint on your ticket, then increases the amount of tips that you'll give just by having that mint on there. They've done studies on this, by something like 3%. Okay, now it's not a huge number, but it's still, that's a number, right? So, and they've done these studies. And so then they just decided to see, okay, well, let's see if we increase that mint to 2 mints. Will that actually increase the amount of tips that they get? And indeed, if they put 2 mints on the ticket, then the tips go up even more. And I can't remember how much more, but it was significantly more, like maybe like another 10%. So it goes from like 3% to 10% by putting 2 mints on there. And then they decided to do another test where what they did was they drew attention to the fact that they were putting this mint on the ticket. And so they tried this thing where they noticed that what they would do is they would put 1 mint on the ticket, and then the waiter would walk away, and then he would come back and say, you know what, you guys have been so great. I'm just going to, give you a couple more mints. And so they would give at least another mint or two. And tips would go up, like, I think it was like 20%. So it was like a significant raise every time that one of these things happens. So that was one of the biggest things that came out of that, was that if you can, it's not just the gift that you give them, but it's how you're giving it to them. And if you can give it in a way where you're giving them a compliment and you're drawing attention to the fact that you're doing that, and you're also doing it unexpectedly. So that was one of the things that was kind of key in that, was that he was walking away and then coming back, and it was like unexpected, like, oh, I've got these extra things. You've been such great customers of mine today. And it was unexpected. They got this extra couple mints, right? So it made me think, like, how can I give something that's unexpected? Because I think especially nowadays in the online world, so much of it is almost expected, right? Like, you do a YouTube video, it's almost expected that you're going to be giving value up front and giving some of your knowledge before they even watch it, or they're not going to watch it, right? And so that's part of it too, is sort of like the reciprocity in some ways is them watching the video. But I'm curious from y'all if there's any other ways that you guys use reciprocity, whether it's, bringing cookies to somebody or sending like a video in the mail. Oh, hey, JJ. Hi, see you're here, JJ. Not JJ, but Jay. You're here too. Welcome, welcome. Glad to see you. I'm curious if there's things that you do. Like, for example, speaking of Jay, I know he sometimes sends me emails, right? And it might have like an unexpected video in there that I didn't expect. And it's not like he does it all the time on a regular basis. It's always unexpected, and I get it whenever, like, something maybe applies to me, or whatever. So I always think that's a really cool. It made me think of you, Jay, when we were talking about this, like how to make it unexpected. Like, what can you do that's unexpected and so hard to give gifts, I think, sometimes, that are unexpected and that also don't feel sort of manipulative, right? We talked about that too, because that waiter story where the waiter's walking away and comes back, like, obviously they did that for the study, but maybe there's a way that can be a little bit more authentic. Like, maybe instead of walking away, you can just go, oh, I just love you guys so much. Here, have 3-4 mints, right? Like, maybe there's a way you can just be more genuine, authentic with the way that you're giving the gifts, but yet still doing those things where you're drawing attention to it and still making it sort of a little bit unexpected. So, I just been thinking about this, like, how can I give value that's unexpected? Maybe that's just it. Maybe it's sending little emails or stories or something to potential customers. But I was thinking, like, how can I do that on a regular basis? How can I do that sort of, like in the restaurant example, like they have this like system going of giving a mint to people as they give a ticket, right? It's a simple little thing, and yet it increases their results. So is there a way I can do it on a regular basis to amass amount of prospects, somehow give an unexpected gift in my YouTube channel? That actually reminds me, like, for example, Evan, I know, has, like, if you stay to the end of his video, he sometimes has a bonus video you can watch. So that's kind of a cool thing. And he doesn't always mention at the beginning. I think sometimes if you're at the beginning of something and you say, like, this happened to me lots of times where you go to a webinar. At the beginning of the webinar, they say, now stay till the end, and I'm going to give you this gift. What if someone, like, instead of telling you that, just gave it to you at the end? Or maybe they unexpectedly gave it to you in the middle and said, hey, you guys have stayed with me halfway through, and so I really want to say thank you and give you whatever freebie extra offer you could give your customers that are watching the webinar. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. I just think it's a really cool concept, and I want to do more of that. I think it's kind of fun. I'm looking to see what you guys are saying here because I've been just chatting your ears off. Let's see here. Jay says you feel like your Instagram has reciprocity. So tell me how your Instagram has reciprocity. I want to know more about that. And he also said that your parents used to call you JJ when you were little. I love it. Okay. Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one, and that didn't sound totally weird, even though I'm not your parents. And that you probably, like, don't necessarily want to be called the name that your parents call you. I'm just really glad that it wasn't, like, totally weird. Maybe just a little weird, and maybe just a little unexpected. Had to throw that in there. You said you give a ton of top tier content free and people kind of want to give back. Yeah, totally. I mean, I think you're right. Instagram in general, right? You give like a really cool message or a story, then people want to follow you, right? That's sort of in a way, like just social media in general is sort of reciprocity, right? You give out awesome value for free and they actually follow you because they're like, hey, that was awesome. I'm going to reward you by following you. That's cool. I've actually done that before when I've seen like a really cool YouTube video. And I think to myself, you know, this isn't necessarily a channel that I want to watch all the time, but this was so good that there might be another one coming up sometime that I might want to watch. So then I'll subscribe to the channel, even though I don't necessarily want to watch all the videos all the time. So besides, YouTube's so good at like, you know, like they notice when you're watching. So if you're watching a lot of, it's so funny, I watched this Justin Bieber video last week because I think I mentioned it on my chocolate for breakfast. I went to this dance class on Saturday where they were doing the dance for Sorry Not Sorry. And that video is so good. And so I hadn't seen it in a really long time. Like my friend sent me the link to the workshop and I was like, oh yeah, I gotta go. And so I watched the video again and I was so excited because it was just fun to watch it again. It was so good. And by the way, the dance class was epic. It was over at Velocity here in Portland. I've never taken from that studio before. I drive by it all the time, but it's only been around for, I would say maybe a year. It might be a little bit more than a year, but I just sort of noticed it maybe a year ago, and it's a smaller studio. So I always thought it looked smaller actually than it actually is. But when you walk in, it's actually a little bit bigger than I thought. And it was a really, really fun class. So any of you Portlanders out here who like to dance, really, really fun teacher over there, Heather, who taught this workshop. But anyway, the point is I started getting these, Jay was just asking, was the proper choreo? It was actually, she almost copied the video exactly. Like so one of the things that was really cool was there's a couple different parts of the video where there's like a group of people sort of dancing in the background, and the front girl in the video is just sort of like, well, hi Della, you want to come say hi to my people? I don't know if you can hear her, but she's meowing at the storm right now. With the front girls just sort of freestyling, but then there's like maybe 3 or 4 girls in the background that are sort of doing a group dance. And so she kind of followed that. She followed whatever the choreographed stuff was. And there was a couple moments where it was like freestyle, which is always really good too. I think it's always really challenging for me personally to do a little freestyle. I personally love to have stuff choreographed for me. But it was, yeah, it was really, really good. She followed like this, and it was like the first half of the song, and she followed the choreo almost exactly. So good. So good. It was so good. Anyway. But the point that I was going to make is that since I watched this video again before the dance class on Saturday, I literally have gotten a notice and I have not subbed to his channel, but I have literally gotten a notice almost every day this week for a Justin Bieber video, like almost every day. And I don't know if Justin's like releasing new videos every day. I kind of feel like he is. Like, I don't know if he's doing like different style of videos and having people like dance in his videos like this one. Like, I haven't watched them all, but I don't know if he's just releasing a bunch of new music right now. But it's really weird. Like, I literally almost every single day I get some new notice for a Justin Bieber video. I'm like, what the heck? Like, I didn't even sub his channel. I'm getting all these videos. So YouTube is pretty good about like knowing what you watch and then following up with that and continuing that. So there's a couple of other ones that that I'm sub to, but I never get notices, right? So Adela, come say hi to people. She's right here. I know she wants to say hi. Say hi. She's like, Mama Kitty is dressed like me today, like a ninja. We're dressed black together. What do you think? Yeah. So anyway, so Jay, what else? What else have you done this reciprocity? I know you use it with me all the time. I'm curious what else you might be doing. I remember when I first, way back when I first met you, you had it in your copy really well. I remember like a couple of points, you did a really good job of pointing out like, hey, I'm giving you this value. I can't remember how you did it, but it was really, really done really, really well. Maybe it was way back when you had that success course, which I still have. I still have that printed out. And it's like in a notebook. So I love that course. It was so good. But anyway, Jay saying, I feel like it's not something you use. It's just something that you do. You just give value. I totally agree, though. I totally agree with that. I mean, I think it's not necessarily about I mean, I think it's good to use it. Like what I mean by that is like you draw attention to the fact that you are giving value to people, right? Because some people, like I said earlier, they don't pay attention. It's like a fly on the wall. And they don't see it unless you point it out. And you can do it really elegantly. And you can do it in a way that's not necessarily because you want reciprocity, but just because you want them to understand that they're this place where they're getting value and getting education and getting tips and things, right? But it's probably one of those things that's kind of a natural too. Like if you're doing a good job of it, it's going to be obvious and they're going to keep following you and keep coming back. But I personally just think it'd be kind of a cool thing to do for people, like as an entrepreneur who wants to be generous. Like, how can I be generous? How can I do that? And, give gifts to my people. Like I'm thinking about that in big ways, like besides just freebies and asking for emails, like, can I just do some fun things for people and make them feel loved and make them, all motivated to help make their fantasies come true. Right. So love that. And then Jay is saying, yeah, Gary calls it jab, 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 right hook. Yeah, totally. That's his like whole thing, like jab, jab, jab with a bunch of, freebies and then right hook, you hook them in and get them to buy something. It's funny, that reminds me of, I follow this other guy who I really, really like. His name is Ben Settle. And he has a podcast and he also has an email that goes out every single day. And his whole theory is like, you should send out an email every single day. And in that email, you should have something for sale every day. Or if it's not something for sale, there's a call to action there. So for example, for me, I might have an email that goes out that talks about a video that I want somebody to go watch. And then I might have another video that goes out that says, hey, don't forget about my freebie that I have. And then I have another email that goes out that says, hey, I have this workshop. And then I have another video that goes out, or email, I should say, that goes out and says, I have an Instagram. And so it's just the idea behind what he suggests is that you are just consistently in front of your people, and whatever you're doing is reminding them on a consistent basis that you're kind of training them to get used to like seeing these messages from you. And so that they can automatically assume that you have stuff available for them and that you're giving. And what he does is he actually gives value in the email, because the emails themselves are super entertaining, right? So even though he's selling stuff in them, you obviously don't have to click on them to buy every single time. You can just read the emails and get entertained. And so I kind of love that concept. In fact, one of the things that we learned in my persuasion class the other day, which is where I got this idea for this subject, is that consistency is actually a really great form of persuasion, which I never thought about. So obvious, but never thought about necessarily as persuasion. But people like to see consistency. And if they can see consistency, then they obviously, to me, that means that they learn to trust you. So it's sort of more of a trust thing, but they framed it up as a persuasion tool, which I think is like, that totally is like brilliant to me. So like whether it's a daily email or like people who do YouTube videos every single day, that's why they gain a following, because people know they can count on them having a video every day, or even if it's just every week. Let's say you only have time to do one video a week. Like right now, I've only been doing my one video on Saturday mornings and my one video on Wednesdays, and I'm gonna amp it up soon. But right now I'm getting things, I'm focused on other things, getting my studio ready. Jay, you missed me talking about this is my new studio here. You can tell like this side isn't quite decorated yet. And this side is like partly decorated. So I am in the middle of getting this all ready. And I thought, why not come down here and just give it a go and see what it's like. I think when I film, it'll be during the day, so the light will come in better. So anyway, and let's see what else Jay is saying here. Oh, he's just talking about the new backdrop. Haha, see, you were on the same page with me. I love it. Yes, it's a new backdrop, and I'm excited to even finish it more. But you should have seen these shelves before. They were jam-packed with books and magazines and dust, like tons of dust. So it's funny because I had this idea to use this because it's amazing bookshelves that we have. And I thought, okay, this is going to be simple, quick, easy for me to get together in just a few hours. And I was cracking up when I was like halfway done, halfway done with, what's here now, because it took me way longer than that. But that's okay. It's kind of fun. And you said, in other words, you're targeting people who are blind to it, or you're giving something valued. if you have to point it out, something's wrong. Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. I think I kind of have to agree with you on that. Like, I think if you point it out, it's more likely to increase your results. But I also think that that you shouldn't have to necessarily. Like, if you don't point it out, the people that are going to really resonate with you are going to appreciate it. Like, it's sort of like, it's instinctual. Like just like the Instagram thing. Like, I never thought about that, but that's totally like, if you have awesome stuff and value in your Instagram channel, then people are going to follow you. Duh. It's just instinctual. So yeah. But I do think there is something too, if you somehow, draw attention to the fact and make it clear that you're giving value. Because I think a lot of people in business, and I'm not talking about social media here, but just in general, they'll give all this stuff away, and then they don't like point it out. Like, that's one of the things I was taught when I was in the radio world was, listen, when you give away a couple free commercials to somebody, like, it should be on the invoice. Like, it should be shown that you're giving these commercials away. It should say 0, right? And that's true for, like, if we gave them what we would call added value. So added value in the radio world was, let's say maybe I would get the DJ to mention them on the radio, and maybe we would do like a little free promo for them by going, on sites and doing some kind of free giveaway that would draw listeners to go to the business and sign up for the free giveaway, that kind of thing. So those kinds of things were added value. And so they would never show up on an invoice. And so the idea was you would kind of at the end of each month, you'd make up a little document as a salesperson, say, by the way, we gave you these things as added value. So it's just another way to, like, it's not like they didn't know they got it, but it's kind of another way to, like, just kind of confirm, like, hey, we did these things for you, in case the owner wasn't paying attention. Or sometimes an agency would arrange it for them, and then they wanted to show that proof because they were the ones who negotiated it for them. So that kind of thing. So anywho, I love it. Jason, there's a lot of things that increase results that don't feel good to you. Yeah, totally. We were talking about that earlier too. Like, you don't want to necessarily be manipulative. That might not feel good. Or it just might not suit you, right? Like, it just might not be your style, and that's cool. Like, it might get you tons of results, and it just doesn't fit what you're up to. Like, I totally am like that too. Like, some things that I should be that might get me better results, just aren't me. So I'm going to do something different. And I think that's awesome, because I think then your customers recognize that too, because they become to recognize what you're all about, what you offer, and in a way that kind of makes you stand out in your own brand, I think. And people come to appreciate that about you. So anyway, all right, well, I have been talking your ear off. I think it's time for me to go and enjoy my dinner and drink more of this delicious wine. I can tell it's getting better as the air is hitting it. And I also think it's going to be really, really good with food, as I mentioned earlier. I think it's one of those wines that tastes really good with food. I feel like Jay said something right now. You want people who are aware of your value, but not blind morons who can't see forest for trees. Well, Jay, I don't know, man. I don't know if they're necessarily blind morons, but maybe just not a good fit, right? So I'll leave it at that. And I will sign off. I so appreciate you being here. Thanks, Lily Ma, for being here earlier. I always appreciate you guys here. And I look forward to seeing you on Saturday for their chocolate breakfast. And until then, you guys have a fabulous week. Stay chill, not too chill like it is here in Oregon, but stay chill. Okay, bye.